Hello and welcome to another Game Nexus arcade video. Today we're going to be taking a look at, if you see it on your screen here, Club Kart. Well, it says Club Kart in the USA, but the actual name of this game is Club Kart European Session. As you can see from my Naomi 2 here, there's nothing too exciting in the test menu here. I'll take you into the thing here really quickly. Let me just pop this in here, hit our test button here, and in a couple of seconds here you'll think that it didn't work because it takes too long, but then it just mysteriously goes in. I don't know why. This game seems kind of weird, but as far as it goes, we can do our input test. Output test is like with Initial D, where if you had an actual control panel the buttons would light up, but we don't. And game settings, the only thing we have here is disabling the card system, which we don't have the card system or any kind of simulator for that. If your steering was reversed, you could unreverse it, but as far as this goes, it's a fairly bog standard, nothing too crazy. I believe if you use the card system for this game, you actually get a few more options, which I believe the emulator for the card system actually does work for this game, so I might do that at some point. But for this video, I'm going to just show you the 4 courses that are unlocked by default and talk a bit more about the game. So let me just get out of this and we'll just get right into this and take a look at a little bit of Club Kart European Session. Let's take a look. And of course, you just see the Naomi 2 logo there really quick. And now, since this game is expecting like a drive board and everything, it's going to pop up a little message that says it didn't find the drive board that it was kind of expecting. So all you had to do here was press start. See, it says reset steering, and then it says drive board is not connected. Of course, we don't need drive board because I have it connected to OpenJBS, and I'm just using my Mad Catz MC2 racing wheel to actually play this game. So no need for any of that extra Sega stuff that we don't actually have. But same old warning because we're in the USA region. There's our title screen like you saw in the intros video. Now, as I'd made mention of, there is a card system in this where you can like basically customize your cart similar to Initial D, but I don't have the card simulation set up. I might do that for another video, but this was just kind of to show you what this game kind of looks like and how it plays. And now, I'll come straight out and say this isn't exactly the funnest game in the world. In fact, I kind of think of it as if you took Mario Kart, took all the stuff out of it that made it fun, and then we're just left off with, like, actually serious karting game. That's basically what you have here. Now, I'd imagine this game would be kind of fun if you and your friends like to go out go-karting all the time, and that's really just what you did. So you'd be like, oh wow, it's just like when we go to the go-kart track, and it feels very realistic. And I can honestly say right now, I'm not good at this game. There were several times I actually tried to play this where I legit could not get through the courses because like I hit a corner, I just like messed up a bit too much. But basically what you're seeing here is in all 4 of these gameplays for the default 4 unlocked courses, you'll kind of just see me get through the courses here. But what had happened initially when I first played this game, no matter what I could do, there was a few of the courses I couldn't get through them no matter how hard I tried. But now, as far as the release goes, the only site that seems to have an article about this game, as it's a bit of an obscure title, is Sega Retro. They indicate that this game came out in June of 2001 in Japan, and May of 2001 in the US, and then sometime in 2001 in Europe. Now, the initial version of this, I believe was just called Club Kart, and then they made it Club Kart European Session by adding a couple things. And then there were a couple of, how do I want to call it things, GD-ROM versions that added even more, unlocked everything by default and got rid of the card system, because I guess nobody wanted to actually be involved with the whole card thing. And it says here that This game is notable for being the first Naomi 2 game that used Sega's memory card reader and dispenser technology, a technology that used cards to save player data and progress, which it being used in Derby Owners Club. An improved version of this MCRD system would be used in Initial D Arcade stage, and it saw more success than it did in Club Kart here, so they found a much better use for it instead of just this rather mundane kart racing game. But as you could see right there, I kind of like totally screwed up, but I was able to really save it. But this is one of those games, the handling I don't think is that great. Like for instance, in Initial D, if you go off the course, you know because you didn't steer right, you oversteered, or you did something. Whereas in this game, a lot of the physics and everything just don't feel quite right. I don't know how to describe it, you really just have to play it. But now it goes on to say here that a number of versions were released during this period. Club Kart European Session in Standard Deluxe and Twin Cabinets. Due to the unpopularity of the variant of MCRD in Club Kart, the CRIS, C-R-I-S, card-related interface system was introduced in 2001. An updated version of Club Kart was released in 2003 that removed the card reader functionality, removing the ability to customize carts in favor of pre-made liveries. Both rental classes, Class S, SS, and SSS, Class Novice, BA, and Super SSS are selectable in the start of this version, along with adjusting the number of laps on courses, adjusting the first-person camera view, and replacing real-life sponsors with fictional ones. This 2003 version was ported to the GD-ROM format and used on the Sightcraft motion simulator. But here's our second course here. And then they eventually released it as a spin-off called Club Kart Prize that was a redemption game. So more or less you'd be playing like this game, but you'd be playing it and like getting tickets or whatever kind of redeemables. And Sega Logistics Service announced it would end the service for the Club Kart arcade machines on March 31st of 2017. So when you really think about it, this game had a good like almost 16-year run for a rather little mundane, not so fun kart racing game that Mario and his friends were not involved in at all. But I just really wanted to show this game off because it's a rather obscure game, and it was not really seen all that much because it's kind of one of those never got a port to anything. Never really was all that popular in arcades. Like, for instance, I always see Initial D in a lot of arcades, and I saw it like when arcades were pretty popular. And even today, you'll see a retro arcade now and then that will have like an Initial D 1, 2, or 3 machine even, or some of the more updated ones like 4 and 5, but you don't see a Club Kart machine, and I can honestly tell you I've never seen this game in an actual arcade. Some of the stages are dark, some of them are like bright. This one happens to be like one of the more darker stages. So if you're seeing this on your TV right now, you're probably seeing a little bit of the dynamic weather here, where everything gets bright, everything gets dark, and that's probably the only thing that kind of shows off the Naomi 2 technology here. Otherwise, the graphics are decent. Like, if you look at the little pilot guy there, everything looks alright. He looks pretty good. The geometry of the stage looks pretty nice. It's more or less a little town that you're driving around in your go-kart. But as I said, there's no, like, power sliding. There's nothing really, like, much of a hook here to be like, oh wow, this game is so fun. It just kind of is, if you ask me. But it's one of those many, like, exclusive Naomi 2 games, and if I do ever end up getting the GD-ROM versions, or the updated versions, or even the, at this point, fairly rare Club Kart Prize, I can remember back in the day there was an eBay auction for the longest time for Club Kart Prize, and once that auction went offline, I've not ever seen it again, and if I knew now what I knew back then, that it was such an uncommon game, I probably would have grabbed it. but it probably would have thrown some sort of random error about, like, its ticket hopper or whatever it does to give you your prizes not being present. And considering that was a fundamental part of that version of the game, it probably wouldn't let you disable it, because it's kind of one of those, what would be the point of a redemption game without the redemption part? So I couldn't see it being an option. It'd be like having a skee-ball machine and having it not dispense tickets. But here is the third course in this game. It's more of a roundish course with some little curves here. This one, I'd have to say, of the four that I played, is the easier of them. Whereas some of those other ones, due to all their turns and curves, can be quite crazy. And if you saw the driver there pressing the gas pedal, I was actually doing that, so I kind of find that cool that the driver's doing it when I'm doing it, so it kind of makes you feel like you're that guy. There's like all kinds of Dreamcast banners, so maybe at some point Sega had intended to make Club Kart a Dreamcast game, but I'd have to say they'd probably have to make some kind of World Cup circuit or something mode, which would greatly expand what you have here, or something that would give you like an actual like competition. Otherwise, I couldn't see it like really being a retail release for the home market. But just like any Naomi 2 game, if they were to make this a retail release on Dreamcast, they'd probably have to downgrade the graphics at least a little. I had heard initially there was plans for a Virtua Fighter 4 Dreamcast version, but they scrapped that, and then of course eventually when Dreamcast did no longer get games, it was released on PlayStation 2 and ported very poorly with like downgraded graphics, and of course eventually Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution would have a much better, closer to arcade perfect release, but not quite there. But yeah, they would have had to do some things to Club Kart here in order to get it to run on like a standard Dreamcast spec, since if you didn't know about Naomi 2, it basically is like double Dreamcast. It has 2 CPUs, 2 GPUs, 2 RAM pools, and the way that works is it interpolates the screen, so each CPU and GPU set draws every other line, and that's how it ends up achieving such like a graphics fidelity that looks a lot better than like a regular Dreamcast would, because you're basically running a quote-unquote dual-core system, since you're running 2 processors and 2 GPUs that are running in unison and drawing alternating lines on the screen. But yeah, since they only would have half the power of a Naomi 2, they'd have to scale it back a bit, but it's one of those games that it's not like there's like rain or fog effects or something that would really like make it hard to run this on a Dreamcast. They probably could have scaled it back enough that it wouldn't have been a big deal, that they could make like, say, Club Kart Dreamcast version. And as you can see, since this is the original version, you'll see like DHL and FedEx and everything. But on that later version, they took it out and made it all fictitious sponsors, so it wasn't something they had to pay out to companies that, hey, look, your name is in our game and you should be happy about that. So it's going to be on tons of arcade cabinets. And I've never seen that guy say anything else, other than when I didn't finish the race, he'd be like, oh my god, your driving was so bad, why do you even try? He'd say something to that extent, and I was like, oh geez, please encourage me a little bit more to play this. But as I was saying earlier, I would really call this game a bit of a nothing burger of a game, because it's like the bare minimum of racing game. There isn't like fun characters, they're just all dudes wearing helmets driving go-karts. The driving physics are okay. The game, basically, you could say this game is functional. The only way I could really see this be fun, as I said in the beginning there, is if you had a bunch of friends and there were like 4 cabinets all networked like you saw in the intro there, and the 4 of you could all be playing all at once, and you could just be having fun with it. Other than that, I couldn't see this game having that lasting appeal, and it just sounds like, other than maybe, let's say, the Japanese market, this game probably didn't do so well. That's why Club Kart as a franchise never really was a big thing. But you can kind of see some of those lighting effects I was talking about, where you see we're kind of like either sun setting or sun rising in this scene, and it kind of gives you that dynamic light that's kind of coming up. And that's kind of a little bit of your Naomi 2 at work here. But yeah, that's what I always have to say, like, I hit the side like that, I don't bounce off the side, I kind of almost stop dead. Like, they didn't think, how are the physics going to work in this scene? Like, how should the physics react? But, yeah, and it's kind of crazy when you kind of go under one of the other drivers, they just go right over you, and somehow your dude is, like, not hurt at all. He's just fine. But yeah, a lot of the foliage in this game reminds me a little bit of Initial D. Like, you see those nice-looking tree models, some nice horizon work there, and of course the sun shining right in your eyes. But of course, when I was playing this, I didn't have time to really check that, because I was just desperately trying to get so I can actually finish the stage and not run out of time. Because the time limit in this game, if I didn't make it more than apparent, is pretty brutal, so you don't really have time to dilly-dally or do anything where you would, say, spend way too long going the wrong way or hitting the side too much. You just have like a very small amount of time to get through everything. And as you can see on most of the laps, I just barely made it. And I find it funny when I think to myself, I finished like 3rd place in most of these races. I couldn't see 1st place being that much faster, so it really is that much of a, how do I want to call it? Like, small margin that you have to finish these courses in. Of course, that's unless you're just really good at Club Kart and you can just really play really well. But I'd imagine after a while, if like every day you went to the arcade and played this game, you probably would get good at some of these courses and get a bit more accustomed to the physics. Something like Mario Kart Arcade GP, Initial D, or F-Zero AX just kind of has a better feel to how the driving works. And I was thinking here, oh look, I'm finally going to finish good, I can be done with this game. But as I said, unless I go and do like the card simulation and everything, I couldn't see myself playing this game all that much more. But I really just wanted to show it to you, to show you what Club Kart European Session looked like. Because it's yet another Naomi 2 exclusive game that really just never got ported to anything. All in all, it's an alright racing game. Probably fun in multiplayer, but not so fun just playing it on your own like I'm doing here. If you see multiple cabs set up, you might want to try it with your friends, but otherwise, there's not really much to see here. Well, this has been another Game Nexus arcade video, and I shall see you later. Bye.